can we realistically compare InArt and Hot Toys? Because I think we've done this for a while, and I've definitely been, this has been something that I've done a ton, but it was actually a conversation I had with Justin, who brought up something really interesting to me. And he was telling me you can't really compare InArt and Hot Toys because that InArt's releasing like one figure a year. And then you have Hot Toys who have released almost 40 this year already. Like, and it's halfway through the year. So of course, maybe the one InArt figure is going to be really great when you have one figure you're doing versus 40, for 80 or 60, 70, whatever Hot Toys is going to end up releasing by the end of the year. So it's almost like you can't even compare them. But I think InArt has welcomed that comparison, probably for good reason, to bring them more attention. And then also, you know, that you have, you know, these characters that they're doing that Hot Toys has already done, that they seem to have purposely selected for that reason. But Riley, what do you think? I mean, can we still compare InArt and Hot Toys?
I would say yes, we can still compare them, but Justin does give a really great point. I didn't really consider the factor that, I mean, they have so many more figures, and obviously on top of the figures they're releasing probably more batches of, because it's just mass production of certain stuff like clones and other crazy stuff. But I think they're still comparable. One that's obviously going to be the biggest comparison that people are waiting for is, like we talked about, Kiko just left, the Batman, or the Midman as he calls it. 2 figures coming that I am particularly super excited to see with the Hot Toys and InArt. And I know a lot of people out there in the content creation space, they're going to do that comparison because, I mean, it makes sense. It's the first head-to-head with 2 different 6-scale companies, and it's going to be really exciting to see. I would say, yeah, I think they can be comparable, though. I do get what he was saying with certain figures being more different because the ad is, I mean, they're 2 different brands. Like Justin said, they're not making as many, so they're probably doing that much more detail into their specific figures. But another thing that we could talk about is price too. They're very, some of them are similar in price. I know a lot of people, they state like, oh, InArt's like, it's different. Like it's completely different in comparison to Hot Toys. It's its own brand because the prices are way more. It's more premium, but in a sense, not really when it comes to sculpted. If we look at I think the sculpted of the Joker right here, the sculpted version was like $340 or something, $350 shipped. And Hot Toys nowadays, you're paying like $330 to $350, and some even like $400 if they're bigger, obviously. So I'd say in comparison to sculpted wise, I think you can compare them even more because price wise, they're very similar and you're getting one figure. So I think that it's easily can be compared between the 2. And yeah, obviously with Rooted though, it's going to be different. They're going to add that like $200 because obviously Rooted Hair is going to do that. But I'd say price comparison, you can compare them, and also just figures themselves. A lot of people are just going to compare them because, like we said, there's not a lot of premium style brands right now for 6 scale other than InArt and Hot Toys, and maybe some others in the future we're going to have to wait and see. But I'd say you can't compare them. But in other senses, it's an interesting one because that you actually gave a great point with how Hot Toys is very different with how many figures they produce. That's maybe why we see that little decline from proto to final. In that case, InArt, if they have 1 figure or 2 figures or 3 figures to worry about, it's going to be a lot easier to make a better figure. But yeah.
And Riley, you make a really, really good point there about comparing sculpted to sculpted, because that's a little more apples to apples. You know, it's a little more like it's in a similar price range. You know, you're getting, I think probably even better. You're getting a better head sculpt more often than not, I think. As far as if InArt delivers on what they promise, let's phrase it that way. If InArt delivers on what they promise in their prototype, then yes, you are getting a superior head sculpt, I feel. Like, I think the InArt prototypes they have shown have all been mostly better than a lot of the Hot Toys equivalents, right? So if we're looking at Batman versus Batman, sure. If you're looking at maybe an InArt versus that Fennec Shand, for example, that's different because Fennec Shand is just phenomenal. And I think that's just a really, really, really good head sculpt and showcase what Hot Toys can truly do on a mass production scale. But it's a really valid question. I still probably will compare them because they're still 6 scale figures. At the end of the day, collectors are going to have to choose. And you mentioned premium brand. That's probably a good way to describe it. Hot Toys has been considered the premium brand up until now by most people. Unless you're into customs and you're paying thousands of dollars for head sculpts and whatever, you've probably been used to buying Hot Toys as the premium brand, and they still are in many ways. But InArt has kind of come in, you know, as I guess the Tesla or whatever expensive car, right? Where it's just like expensive and you're going to pay for Rooted Hair or whatever and all these die-cast weapons and stuff like that. So yeah, it's tough to say, but I think we're going to compare them insofar as you have a limited space in your collection, you have a limited budget in your collection, and you have to choose which figures are going to make the cut. And if you collect 6 scale, it's going to be between this and it's going to be between Hot Toys probably more often than not, unless you collect IPs that neither of them carry. So That's I think the question, right?
Yeah.
I think they're, like you said, Riley, they're more comparable insofar as rooted versus, or sculpted versus sculpted in lower prices. But rooted, that's where it gets a little bit tricky because Hot Toys just doesn't really do rooted hair right. You know what I mean?
Right. And then the rooted just makes it that much more realistic and just better looking if it is done correctly.
Unless you're Kiko, because Kiko's figure did not come out as good.
Kiko, man,
but
the Afro Joker.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Yeah, he did get unlucky. I mean, my Joker hair looks great. It looks pretty much like the photo.
Yeah.
So
and it still looks the same as
yeah,
when I got
like mine, you can see, or I'm gonna knock over this light. Mine are right there.
Oh, there you go.
So you can see they're right there. Yeah, dude. And I have Space, Dark Knight right in the middle of the display, bro. And when I get Bane and eventually I don't have a Batman right now because I'm waiting. I kind of want to get the Armory version. But I just want the Batman suit. You know what I mean? I don't really want the whole Armory.
Same. Yeah, same.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of just want the Batman suit, and I kind of just want the or I was waiting for the InArt. I know people hate that statement, but
I'm gonna wait for the InArt.
2026, baby. 2026.
Yep.
All right. So guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Can we compare Hot Toys and InArt?